Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron, and I am here to answer a simple question. Why is Saints Row? This one here has got me a little upsetty spaghetti because Saints Row is a game that is kind of near and dear to my heart. So, Saints Row 2022, I guess we're going to have to call it, is a reboot for the Saints Row franchise. And when I first heard that, I was super excited because I loved Saints Row almost an unreasonable amount. I loved it way more than I had any right to. And the reason why was because I've always enjoyed like the Grand Theft Auto games, but their kind of line of jokes they like to make, the way that they add humor to their games, the little like punches at society they take at the time, it just didn't resonate with me really. Like I didn't like where they were going with the stuff. So Saints Row came out and I picked it up for my Xbox 360 and I just absolutely adored it. And the reason why I liked the first one so much is it was so weirdly grounded. You know, you were just a dude and you ended up getting involved with this gang and you did gang stuff. You tried to kind of like take over your area of the town, take over more of the town. You had to fight off the other gangs. There's this big long narrative about how the Saints were actually going to be doing something different. They were supposed to be helping the area. They weren't going to be like the other gangs and blah, blah, blah. And the story just kind of grew from there, but it was always grounded, you know, and it had this really nice like betrayal at the end. It just felt so real. And that's what I liked about it. I mean, granted, now it was ridiculous. It definitely had its ridiculous moments, but the story itself never went crazy. But then, you know, Saints Row 2 came out, and somehow the character had survived, and they've been in a coma, and then you kind of progress through the game, and as you're playing Saints Row 2, it got crazier and crazier. And then Saints Row 3 comes out, and it was a complete and utter departure from reality. Just total departure. And it was about that time I just stopped being interested in the series. I did not like that complete departure from it. Now, granted, I found a lot of it funny, and there were certain elements of the games I definitely enjoyed playing. It was super fun in a lot of ways. I wanted to play a game about somebody in a gang doing real world stuff, you know, like Scarface style stuff. And so it just didn't work for me. Well, Saints Row 2022 comes out, and the whole point of this game is it's a reboot for the series. And I was like, cool, I'm about that. We can start over and see what happens. And I've been playing this game, and oh boy, I'm going to keep playing it. I'm definitely going to keep playing it, but it's not great. It's definitely not great. God, I hate saying that though, because I'm torn. So, okay, well, let's kind of like set it up a little bit better. So here's what's going on in Saints Row, the new game. I'm not going to talk about any of the glitches people are having. That's everywhere. People have already talked about it. And I will say this though, it is true. This game is buggy. On pretty much the very first mission that you go on, the second mission you go on in the game, I had a bug to where one of the missions just did not work. And I had to reload from a checkpoint, and then it just like dropped me in the middle of a gunfight. And I technically like missed out on story, if you could say that, considering that it was literally just like a character complaining. But the glitches aren't going to slow me down too much. I haven't encountered a lot of them yet in my playthrough, but they definitely are there. The real issue with this, and it does make me sad for that nostalgic feel I have for Saints Row, is that this is a game that was just released. It literally came out like, 2 days ago as of the time I'm recording this, and it feels like a PlayStation 2 game. Like, legitimately. It doesn't look like one necessarily. It looks really good for the most part, but it's a PlayStation 2 game. The controls are not great, and granted, all the Saints Row games, the Grand Theft Auto games, the controls are never all that amazing, honestly. I mean, you get some trade-offs. If you play with a controller, then the driving is usually really good in like Grand Theft Auto. If you play with mouse and keyboard, then the shooting is really good. But the reverse isn't. Like, trying to drive in these games with mouse and keyboard is god-awful. Trying to shoot with a controller is absolute trash. Saints Row, this one, it is just all over the place. This feels like a game that it does not know what it wants to be. The problem is like, even though it looks like they just made it, and it obviously just released, so they just finished with it. It feels like it's from like a same engine, I guess you could say, the same engine that they used for the original game. Driving in it is either very much like on rails or it's really sloppy. And it's both of those at the same time, so you never know which one you're actually going to be getting. The shooting is fine from what I've seen, although the weapons are freaking weird, and I can't tell if it's glitches or if it's intentional, but the weapons, some of them just perform weird. I don't know. It's not great. It's really not great. Another thing that's kind of nice to see about the game, however, it is also not good, is this is a game that nothing new has been introduced to it. So if anyone's played any of the original Saints Row games, you know what the story is generally like, and you also know what the humor is about. And with the Saints Row, the more they made those games, the more it was focusing on the humor. They wanted to go over the board with stuff and just be goofy all the time. This game is doing exactly that, but it's the exact same jokes, the exact same everything from, I mean, what, 20 some odd years ago almost? When the hell was Saints Row 1 released? I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna look it up live right now. Well, live for me, recording for you. This is kind of an awkward section, I'm sure, but you know what? I don't care. So let's see. Saints Row, the original Saints Row, pulling it up on Wiki, came out in 2006. Yeah. So 2006. The humor, the way they talk, it's the same. It's totally checked out. This is... God, it feels like this is a game of people who just wanted to make money off of the name, and they didn't know how to do that even. So like one of the first things they do in this game, really setting the tone, is you meet the character and you meet his roommates. And it is, I don't even want to ruin this word by using it, but it is very cringe dialogue. It is very much a like boomer trying to write how millennials talk and what is important to them. The entire point of this is the main character is trying to pay, he has to make rent and he's worried about paying off his student loan debt, and that's the punchline, and everyone has like a good laugh about it. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. The voice acting in this, occasionally it's good, and then occasionally it's just ugh. It's like not bad in terms of quality necessarily, and it's not even necessarily bad because the actors are kind of wooden, which sometimes they are. It's just, it's not organic. It's just, ugh. Like that's the only, like a noise is the only thing I can use to like sum it up. Other issues that I have with this, and this is something that it didn't used to be a problem. So the original Saints Row was like this. The Saints Row 2, Saints Row 3, all of them had this exact same thing happening to them. And it wasn't a problem at the time because we didn't know any better with games. But the world is empty. It's not a very big map. It's big enough, but you're driving around it, and yeah, sure, there are pedestrians. Yeah, sure, there are cars, there's traffic, whatever. But there's like nothing happening. There's nothing happening. Sure, there's shops you can go to. There are places you can stop and take like tourist-style pictures, even though your character lives here. You know, they have random stuff like that. Like, you know, like not even objectives, just random collectibles that you can do across the map, circa Assassin's Creed 1. It's so dated. It's just very, very dated. The whole game is dated. Feels a lot like Cyberpunk did. So I actually really enjoyed Cyberpunk for the most part. I have some massive issues with it, but for the most part, I did enjoy playing the game. But one big problem it had, and it's the same problem this has, is the world is empty. It's so full of stuff. You have this massive city and countryside and to explore, and yet it feels just completely devoid of substance. It's disappointing to say the least. It's absolutely disappointing to say the least. I don't know. I've clocked, I don't know, maybe 5 hours into the game so far. And, you know, funnily enough, I do enjoy playing it. I definitely enjoy playing it, but that's also because I'm one of those people who still loves going back and playing the old games. I very much enjoy that. And like the lack of features or the restrictions or whatever that old games usually have, either intentionally or just because of the way they designed at the time, the limitations of the hardware, I enjoy them. It doesn't slow me down any. Playing this, I'm enjoying it. It's like going back and playing any other game that I enjoyed on the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox 360. I'm able to enjoy it, but we've been spoiled with game development nowadays. And if I want to play a PlayStation 2 game, I'll just pull out my PlayStation 2. Like, why should I buy a brand new game in the year 2022 to play a PlayStation 2 game? That doesn't make any sense. But that's what Saints Row is. And it's so funny. Like, normally I'm someone who gets really heavily blinded by nostalgia. Not on this one. There is no nostalgia here. it's awful. This is what happens when someone who doesn't care is like, hey, I bet these people would love to see this franchise come back, and I bet you I'll just watch it really quick, and then I'll totally be able to make a new thing in this franchise, and everyone will love it because they remember loving it. And no, that's not how this works at all. It sucks. And I'm just gonna rant on that. It's just not worth it. It's really not. It's just not worth it. I definitely would not buy this if I were you. It's just, just go back and play Saints Row 1 through 3. Just play those again. Because if you're looking for a early 2000s style game that lacks all substance, is just about blowing stuff up, quick time events, being on rails, things of that nature, just go play one of the ones that didn't do it on purpose, if that makes sense. And it's just, yeah, just do that. Don't buy this. Don't buy this game. That's it. That's all I got. And it makes me so mad. I like justifying games' existences, and I can't justify this one. I legitimately cannot. I mean, I guess I could say, hey, do you want to relive your nostalgic days of playing Saints Row and hearing the Goofy Boys and the Saints making funny jokes? But it's cheap. It's cheap. It's clearly someone cashing in on your nostalgia. So don't give them that. And that just brings us back to the question, which I've already answered, but that brings us back to the question: why is Saints Row 2022? Saints Row 2022 is because you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and that's just it. Thank you so much, though, for watching the video. I know it was a little bit goofy and all over the place, but this game yeah, that's just about all there is to say. It's just, yeah. If you want to continue the discussion, though, after the video, definitely check out the Discord that we have down in the comments, linked all over the channel. It's a great place to be, and it's a great place to have some good conversations with a bunch of bros.